Welcome to Small Talk. My name is David Shaw. Last weekend in Reading there were various events to recognise the centre weekend of the cop26 Glasgow conference. There was a climate march, followed by events in St Lawrence, during which there were various speeches. And a whole load of people were invited to speak. There was a Reading University climate scientist. There were local councillors, there were representatives of various local environmental groups, and much to my surprise and sense of privilege, I was invited to speak, and they said, "David, we want you to speak for 5 minutes on the faith perspective with a global perspective too." I wonder if you were given 5 minutes on that, what you would say. This is what I chose to say. I have 3 words for you: God, prayer, action. One of the things that the 3 major Abrahamic faiths, Islam, Judaism and Christianity, share is that we believe that God created the whole universe. God is creator. And in the bit of the scriptures that Christians and Hebrews share, it says that after each section of creation was finished, God said, "It is good." And then when the whole lot had been finished, God said, "It is very good." Creation mattered to God, and as we read scriptures, we know that creation continues to matter to God. And so, if creation matters to God, creation matters to God's people. And then prayer. I mentioned prayer because it is what faith groups, Christians, bring that is distinctive to the struggle against climate injustice. And I reassured everybody there that Christians were praying for COP26 24/7, and that Christians would continue to pray for climate justice, to pray against this climate crisis for the entire duration that it takes. And we pray that that won't be too long. And then thirdly, action. And I started that by saying that for Christians, prayer is not a passive activity. Prayer and action belong together. So we pray, which leads us to action, and the action leads us back to prayer. And why is that? Because the God that we meet when we pray is a God who is passionate about justice. As I read my scriptures, I read that God hears the cries of the victims of injustice. So when I go to a God who hears those cries, God tells me in prayer that things are not right with God's world, and I am driven to action. And so as I go to prayer, I hear God saying about the global south facing injustice. I hear about the low-lying islands and countries where the sea levels are rising, where countries are being swept away, where settlements are being swept away. I hear the voice of God saying, "See my people in Africa, where the crops have failed again due to the bad climate crisis," and I'm driven to action. God, prayer, action. As I was there with that group of people, I realised that we were partners in this struggle, that we have a distinctive voice as Christians, that we bring distinctive things to the table, but we work with those that God has placed us among to challenge the injustice that we find with climate injustice. Have you joined that struggle?